Welcome to Deep Dive by House of Undine, the wellness podcast where peace meets power and depth drives everything. Interviews, insights, meditations, and more. Let's dive in. Is Coconut Grove Miami's best kept secret? Hello, and welcome back to Deep Dive by House of Undine. Again, as always, super excited you're here. Happy Monday, happy whatever day it is. Don't mind Maverick as he drinks all the water at the perfect time. Anyways, okay, so today we're talking about my recent trip to Coconut Grove in Miami with my mom, and I'm giving you all the details on where to go, what to do, and how much I absolutely love it there. So get comfortable, grab a drink, grab a coffee, grab an espresso, whatever makes you happy, and let's dive in. Okay, so for anyone who doesn't know, a couple weeks ago, at the end of April, I went back to Coconut Grove. I actually discovered Coconut Grove last year. So, I do trips with my mom every year. I've always gone on trips with my mom, but we've been doing kind of these little discovery trips for the past like 4 years because, sometimes I think I might want to go somewhere else. And I've kind of been dipping my toes into different places. And one of those places was Miami. We went last year. We actually initially stayed downtown at the Mandarin Hotel. We thought we were getting some great deal staying at that hotel because it's on all these like Forbes and Condé Nast Traveler, and it was, so highly rated. And there was this great deal to stay there the weekend we were going to Miami last year. So we booked it. We pull up and we find out that it is literally closing down that month in preparation to be imploded a year later. And it was not an ideal situation. We actually ended up canceling our stay, and I was looking for another place to go last minute. It was really a rough start to the trip because I had gone down there with all these great hopes about Miami, got down there, didn't love the hotel, walking around South Beach, didn't like it, but really was like disappointed, thought the trip was going to be just like a complete waste, and actually ended up like crying outside with my mom, being like, am I ever going to find some place that I really love again? And lo and behold, that day I had to desperately find a new hotel. Saw this place called Mr. C Miami, which I had never heard of before, and this place called Coconut Grove, which was like 15 to 20 minutes away, that I also had never heard anyone talk about. And we ended up making a last minute booking there for a night, and we went there and we loved it. So we ended up spending a few more days in West Palm Beach and Jupiter and all this stuff down there last year. But this year when we were going back, I really wanted to stay in Coconut Grove again. So we had our whole stay this time in Coconut Grove at Mr. C. And I am so excited to tell you about what I believe to be Miami's hidden gem, because I never hear anyone talk about Coconut Grove. I am here to put you on. So, a little context on Coconut Grove if you don't know. Coconut Grove is a part of Miami, but it is its own neighborhood, and it's about 15 minutes south of Brickell, right on Biscayne Bay. So when people talk about Miami, typically, at least as being somebody from Virginia, I feel like I hear a lot about South Beach. In recent years, you hear tons about Brickell and how it's like the little Manhattan in Miami, like the financial district. And you hear about Wynwood, you hear about the design district, you hear about like the richer places, like what is it, like Sunny Isles, and then there's like wherever Jeff Bezos just moved to. I literally never heard anyone talk about Coconut Grove ever. I didn't even know what it was. And I feel like I know enough about like places and nice places. So I was so like amazed to find this like beautiful little place that I absolutely am obsessed with. Coconut Grove is actually the oldest continuously inhabited neighborhood in all of Miami. It was founded in 1873, more than 20 years before the city of Miami was even officially incorporated, and its earliest settlers were Bahamian. I hope I'm saying that right. So there is a little pocket of the Grove that's still officially designated as the Little Bahamas. So the cultural roots there run deep, and the Grove has always had a real bohemian gravitational pull. Tennessee Williams lived there. Alexander Graham Bell, the guy who invented the telephone, lived there. Robert Frost spent time there. David Crosby, Jimmy Buffett, Madonna. They have all called Coconut Grove home at various points, and it has this really long history of attracting artists and writers and musicians. And then more recently, what has been happening with Coconut Grove is billionaires have found it, apparently. So when I say Coconut Grove is a hidden gem, I do not mean that it's underrated. Apparently, it's where some of the most powerful people live, but I just feel like nobody's talking about it. And I feel like that makes it interesting because I don't feel like there's anything undiscovered anymore. I feel like anything that's nice, cool, or fun is like a million people on their phones or they're taking pictures and talking about it on Instagram. And I just don't hear about it for Coconut Grove. Anyways, that brings me to Mr. C Miami, which is honestly at this point my favorite hotel. And I am obsessed with it. I have traveled a lot. I don't travel as much anymore, but in my 20s, I was traveling all the time. I've been traveling since I was little. I would consider myself well traveled enough, and I've stayed at really nice hotels. I've stayed in really nice luxury places, but I don't necessarily have a hotel that I like love so much and I need to go back to and I miss. Mr. C Miami is different. So going in there, you just feel like you're at home. It's so special. It's not necessarily the largest hotel or the grandest, but they have a level of customer service that I feel like as a millennial, I grew up experiencing, but I don't see anymore. And everyone in there, all the staff are so kind and they genuinely want you to feel like family. They notice the little details and it really makes you feel like when you're staying there, because it is a little more expensive, like you're really getting what you're paying for. And even though it's a small hotel, it meets you at every moment. And it's just beautiful. And I mean, even a nice little thing like when you go in there, you're greeted with a free Bellini, which is a delicious Bellini. The place is beautiful. The rooms are a little bit smaller, I would say, but they're still really nice. And you have a view of the bay from your room. It's just really sweet, and everyone there is so nice. And I think one of the craziest things, I don't know that I've ever been to a hotel where I go there one year and then the next year I come back and it's literally the same people at the hotel. So you really do feel like you're stepping back somewhere and it is like family. And it's just like, can't say enough. Coconut Grove itself, as far as visiting Miami, unless you are really dying to just stay in the downtown, which I just don't know that I'm at that place in my life anymore. If I was younger and I just wanted a club all night, sure, I would definitely want to stay in downtown, but that's not where I'm at. So you're a little bit removed from the city, but it's only 15 minutes away. So you still can like get in an Uber and go to where you need to go and then come back and have a little less of like the hustle bustle of a city that's a little calmer and very friendly, like walkable. Everyone's super nice. Mr. C is just like total class act. I highly recommend. As far as the food goes, we had a lot of fun with the food down at Miami. And I feel like the food scene down there is so cool. Again, I've only been to Miami like 2 or 3 times, but I feel like every time I go there, like the food scene gets better. So one of the restaurants we tried on the first night was Carbone Vino in Coconut Grove. Carbone Vino is the Coconut Grove sister concept to the original Carbone in New York, which is like this iconic major food group Italian restaurant from Mario Carbone and Rich Torrisi. And the Coconut Grove location opened, and it's apparently more wine forward than the original. I didn't really drink any of the wine, so I can't really tell you about that. But I can tell you about the service. It was awesome. We had a waiter and a waitress, Stacy and Christopher, and they were so sweet, so amazing. Everyone in there was cool. The vibes were cool, very like Frank Sinatra-esque with like Italian vibes, like just like a really good time. And the food matched, and it was worth it. So highly recommend a Carbone. But we also went to Casa Tua for another dinner on our last night, which I liked it. I don't know that I actually loved the pasta. So I think the vibes are really cool in Casa Tua and they have a few different locations, but I still had a lot of fun. We had a really good time. I just love the vibe of the restaurant, so I would 100% go back for that. So definitely recommend that. And then for lunch one day, we went to Mandolin Aegean Bistro in the Design District. Mandolin is a Greek and Turkish coastal restaurant in the Design District, and it's actually set in a converted 1940s bungalow. It has this really cool garden with blue and white color scheme, and you literally feel like you have been dropped into Santorini in the middle of the design district. And it is a Michelin Bib Gourmand restaurant, which is Michelin Guide's category for great food at a great price. It was super sweet, such a cool vibe. Definitely recommend if you're going down with your girlfriends or like a bachelorette or really anybody, but they had this delicious white sangria that was fantastic. And as far as places we went to that were in Coconut Grove, first of all, Coconut Grove is small, but it's very walkable, especially if you're staying down there. And Panther Coffee is right there, which is absolutely delicious. Small batch, local roaster, really good. Then they have this place called Green Street Cafe. They have really great breakfast, and it's a really good people watching spot because there are tons of people walking around and eating and outside and doing a bunch of stuff. And I miss that. Unfortunately, when I go out in Richmond now, there just aren't as many people out and about. And I just felt really lively and vibrant down there. And then across the street, there is a quick service place right there. And I had literally the best squeezed Valencia orange juice I've ever had. It was probably like $10 for the glass, but it was like liquid gold. Oh my God, so good. I mean, I do have a special spot in my heart for cold pressed fresh squeezed orange juice, but that might be the best thing that I've ever had. And then there's this super sweet little bookstore that has a Vietnamese place inside it, and they have really cool book selections there. So give that place a little stop for shopping. There's obviously like places in Coconut Grove you can go shopping. I would go to Merrick Park in Coral Gables. It's an open air mall and it's still in full swing. Like stores aren't closing down. Like they're all still really busy and they're nice. They have a functioning Nordstrom there that had really great selection. And it kind of reminds me of Short Pump a little bit, but it's even bigger, larger, grander, beautiful, really great, awesome shopping to do there. So if you need to go shopping, definitely worth it. And so those are like my big recommendations for food, for things to do, things around Coconut Grove. But here is where things get kind of interesting. So when I was planning this trip, I really just planned it because it worked out. I had a weekend that I didn't have events. I really wanted to get back down there because there were some things I wanted to see and I missed it and I love it and I needed a little vacation. In between my normal full-time job and now House of Undine, it's really difficult for me to plan anything until last minute. So called my mom up. We planned this trip. And we had already booked the hotel on the weekend. And as I was planning this, I was looking at what we could do while we were down there. And lo and behold, the weekend that I booked actually lined up with Miami's first ever citywide wellness week called Wellness Week, which ran from April 13th to April 19th. And it was the first time the city's ever done anything like that. It was a week-long gathering in Miami as the global wellness epicenter. The whole concept is to do for the wellness industry what Art Basel has done for art, which is to bring leading voices, brands, and cultures into Miami for one anchored week each year. Apparently, like the Global Wellness Institute, which is the leading research nonprofit for the wellness industry, is actually headquartered in Miami, which I didn't know. And the US wellness economy at large is now valued at $2.1 trillion. And the average American spends over $6,000 a year on wellness. So, Miami has decided that their strategic plan explicitly names health and wellness as one of the four pillars they're using to try to reshape tourism in the city. I think Miami's trying to move from the party city that, if you're my age, you all know it and grew up with it, to be moving in towards more of a wellness city, which obviously totally aligns with me and I absolutely love. And I just found it so interesting that I would be down there this first week. And they're also doing something cool. They're pursuing Blue Zone principles citywide, which I understand there are some competing theories on Blue Zones and, the research behind them. But I do think it's kind of a cool thing that they are using these practices that are based on longevity researchers in places like Sardinia and Okinawa, where people, are centenarians and living to be 100. So not just hype, the city is really putting wellness in the forefront of its official plans. And I decided that we were going to go to it because I was like, this is a total sign. So we actually went to the Well Next Miami at the Sacred Space in Miami, which was really cool in the design district. And it's one of the most iconic venues. And it was a 2-day festival. I guess over 3,000 people came. And they had all kinds of stuff like outdoor workouts, speakers, recovery experiences, breath work. I went there and I saw Jillian Tuckery's talk. Jillian Tuckery is, if you don't know who she is, she's like this New York Times bestselling author. She has a podcast and she talks a lot about relationships. And she's kind of associated with people like Glennon Doyle and Brene Brown. And she is based in Miami. So she gave a really cool talk at the event, which is actually kind of funny because she put this couple on the spot and this guy had to talk about his relationship. And you could just tell that it was uncomfortable for him, but they worked through some stuff and it was really cool. Seeing her live in person and seeing her be so real with people in such an honest and really educational way, like really meaningful. She wasn't trying to embarrass them. She just wanted to be direct about how people really interact in relationships. And I thought it was a really cool thing to witness. So it made me love her even more. It was very intimate. I mean, there were probably only maybe like 30 people in the room when we saw her. So that was really cool. And it was just so fun. And I totally made my mom dress up in like all House of Undine gear. So me and my mom were walking around in our House of Undine stuff. And people were definitely eyeing us, being like, who are you? What's that? What's House of Undine? And we went to lunch at the Mandolin right after. And people were definitely like wondering who we were. And I was like, is this a sign? Do we need to be here? Dot, dot, dot. Um, and then there were a couple other things that happened throughout the weekend that I just felt like were so aligned and such a sign, maybe from the universe, if you get my drift. So obviously I love Coconut Grove and I just really feel at home when I'm there. And it's just from like the moment we got off the plane till the moment we left, it just felt so aligned with everything that's happening, things that I've been dreaming of myself for my own life, and all the things that I've been kind of calling in. And so when we were at Carbone, Stacy and Christopher were our waiter and waitress, and Stacy was such a sweet woman. And at the beginning of the dinner, we were telling her about how like we were back for a second time. I was really interested in Coconut Grove, really loved it there. She had moved down there. She lived there for 6 years, I think, at this point, and she was saying how she was nervous to move down from so far away. I think she's from Minnesota. So many different vibes going from Minnesota to Miami, obviously. She was just telling us how much she loved it. And she was such a sweet, kind, just a very loving energy person. And was just so sweet to us the whole night. Her and Christopher both, he was also awesome. And they were just like giving us extra bread and extra biscotti and like making us feel so great. And then towards the end, all of a sudden, Stacy comes over and she's holding two little glasses of limoncello and she gives them to me and my mom and she was like, this is on us, this is to honor your trip to Coconut Grove and maybe a possible move here. And I just looked at her and I was like, oh my gosh, Stacey, thank you so much. This is so kind of you. I just feel like I have to tell you this. My grandmother passed away and I was really close with her. Obviously, she's my mom's mom. We're a very close family. And my grandma loved limoncello and she always drank it. So in honor of her, we always cheers with limoncello. And she was like, oh my gosh, I have chills. And it was just such a moment where it was like, it just brought tears to my eyes and my mom's eyes. And it was like, she's with us. And I definitely believe in that. I was very close with my grandmother. She's very important to me. I miss her every day to this day. She passed away in 2014. And if you've ever lost somebody, I feel like you can understand this. At the beginning of losing someone, you feel them around you all the time, like they're with you. And I feel like it was the first time I ever really understood the idea of having somebody watch over you, like having a guardian angel. I don't know that I ever felt like that before my grandma passed away, but when she did, I would feel her around me, and especially in times when I needed her the most. But as years go on, you kind of feel it fade from you because you don't need them as much as you do when they're first gone. But still, sometimes in very special moments, they'll come to you in signs in all different ways. It was just in that moment where I felt like she was really with us and she was saying to us, like, this is it, this is for you. And it was just such a beautiful, sweet moment. So, best limoncello I've ever had. So, fantastic limoncello carbone. And then the next night, we actually went to a different restaurant, and similar to a lot of restaurants up here in Richmond, they used vintage plates and vintage cutlery. And when we sat down to eat our meal, my mom goes, my gosh, like this is Graham's cutlery. Like this is her servingware that she used. And it was just another moment where I was like, oh my God, what? Like, that's so wild. That's so crazy. What are the odds that this restaurant would have the silverware that my grandma had and that she used? So there were just all these little moments throughout the weekend. And there actually is a name for this in psychology. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist who founded analytical psychology and worked closely with Freud, coined the term synchronicity, and he defined it as a meaningful coincidence between an internal event, like a thought or a feeling, and an external event in the world that seemingly has no causal connection between them. And he thought these moments were the universe revealing its deeper interconnectedness. Modern skeptics might call it pattern recognition or confirmation bias, which is basically our brain finding meaning where there isn't any. I do think that sometimes as people, we are meaning makers of things and we want there to be meaning. So we find meaning even where sometimes they're not. But also, as someone who is, in between like rational, practical, grounded reality and also spiritual meaning and feeling and thinking with your heart and allowing those things to happen, it is a feeling that you get on the inside and you just know. It's like a knowing and a feeling when you get those signs, and you absolutely know without a shadow of a doubt that that is meaningful. That person is with you. Those things are happening. And it's really such a perfect bridge because this month we are reading Signs in the Archives Book Club by Laura Lynn Jackson. So if you're into signs, definitely get in on this month. I feel like it's just such a perfect time because, you got to lead with your heart. I'm all about being equally as grounded as I am spiritual. Like, I'm very much a realist and I'm very much practical, but we are also spiritual people who are deeply connected. And it's about intertwining those two things and putting out your intention, looking for the signs, following your heart, putting in the work and building the life that you love. And I just felt like all of those things were taking place inside of this beautiful trip to Coconut Grove, where I just feel so at home. So anyways, if you take one thing from this episode, let it be this: the next time you're planning a trip to Miami, don't just default to South Beach. Coconut Grove is a real place worth at least visiting, grabbing lunch, walking around. It's just so sweet and cute. And if you've been having a season where things keep showing up, maybe little glasses, silverware, song on the radio, number you keep seeing, maybe pay attention to it. Maybe it's just a coincidence. Maybe it's confirmation bias, but maybe it's something more. Love you guys. Can't wait to talk to you again. Have such a great week. See you later. Thanks for diving deep with us. If you like this episode, share it, rate it, and come back next week for more. This is Deep Dive by House of Undine, where peace meets power. The content presented in this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and is not intended to constitute professional advice of any kind, including but not limited to medical, legal, financial, psychological, or other professional services. Nothing discussed should be interpreted as medical advice, diagnosis, treatment, or prevention of any disease, nor as a substitute for advice from a licensed physician, healthcare provider, or other qualified professional. You should not disregard or delay seeking medical or other professional advice because of something you have heard on this podcast. Always consult a licensed physician, healthcare provider, or other qualified professional regarding your specific circumstances before making decisions related to your health, treatment, medication, supplements, finances, legal matters, or lifestyle. If you believe you are experiencing a medical or other emergency, contact your physician or the appropriate emergency services immediately.